Fable 5 is officially back, and it might already be killed. Can you believe it, Nick? Fable 5 just got killed, and it's not even happened yet. But let's start with Fable 5 before we talk about this new secret model that's dropping on Thursday, the 9th of July.
Yeah, I mean, stoked as hell that Fable 5 is back, at least in plan usage for the next 4 days. Although I'm not going to lie, as a business owner, where my major advantage is just having tons of money, I was considering my own ability to pay for Fable API tokens like a competitive advantage. So that's a little bit on the rough end. But yeah, the fact that it's back in plan usage, pretty dope. I mean, I've just been running it up. And God, there really is nothing like a good Fable day, huh? So we all, as of the time of this recording, have an additional 4 days or somewhere between 90 to 100 hours of blissful Fable API usage included in our plan subscriptions. We don't have to pay for it.
So those who are conspiratorially minded, and there's a few of them here actually, do believe that this was planned, that this was a scheme scheduled ahead of time. And then Anthropic is kind of breadcrumbing and dropping all this stuff out. Nick, before I give you my verdict, what are your thoughts on like mastermind marketing strategy from Anthropic? The guys that had that genius counter maneuver to ChatGPT's ad, where she's like, Nick, my granddad's in this position. I'm so sorry. Have you thought about XYZ? Yeah, you're dropping in the ads and stuff. Is this a genius marketing play, or do we think that this is like they genuinely want to get Fable 5 in the access? Like, what's the strat from Anthropic? I think we should dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just put on our conspiratorial hoodies for a second, okay? Let's just take those up. Really, what they're doing is they're stoking our excitement at every possible step. They led with the lure that Fable was going to be gone on the 7th, so that we all thought, oh my God, what are we going to do without Fable? Every YouTube video was, here's what to do with Fable before the plan fucking runs out. Here's how to make the most of Fable. Oh my God, like it's the scarcest resource on planet Earth, which to be honest it is. Intelligence is still in pretty short supply. And then miraculously at the last second, they swooped in the saviors to their own created problem, saying, Fable will now be included for an additional 5 days. And by the way, we just reset the plan usage. It's all on us. Masterful marketing play, but well calculated ahead of time.
Genius. And in my conspiratorial corner here, that landed more kudos points than just simply extending the usage out for 7 days. Because now they've kind of like saved a day. But I would be very curious to know actually like what the finances look like in Anthropic from this whole Fable thing, specifically even the API. The thing is, and if I just take my conspiratorially
back to normal
minded hoodie off, I'm going to bring it back on later because I've got some other conspiracies we want to dive into. The thing is, like, I've been thinking a lot about the usage of Fable 5, and I think that it works amazingly well in the actual chat apparatus of Claude, but I don't know how well it will be adopted in the API. Because of its cost jump, being twice as expensive as the previous model is quite high. And I think even your most like ardent user is finding ways to really cut down on those strategies. Like maybe positing Fable 5 as more of an orchestrator. They kind of, what I mean is like people won't wholesale copy and paste their 4.8 over to 5. I mean, I think there'll be some people that do that for sure, but I think there'll be a general, I should kind of think about what model I'm using now. And I think this is the very first time, Nick, where people are starting to feel tokenomics a little bit more strongly, like, because it is just that expensive.
Yeah, I mean, way back in the day, like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember having a conversation with a good friend of mine talking about how, eventually companies will spend more money on tokens than they do on employees. And yes. I mean, this is like 2021, 2022 days. And I remember we kind of like looked at each other, was like, who really? Nah, maybe not. Like that's stupid. I mean, they cost like pennies, right? But we're there right now. And actually, if you think about it, like we've if this is spending more money than employees, like 6 months ago we were here, and like in 6 months we'll be like here. So I feel like that inflection point like is occurring as of literally as we are currently speaking. Companies all over the world are looking to implement it. But you do raise a good point, which is on API usage specifically, like. If you think about the sorts of use cases that typically require or are used in like full stack apps where you would query the Fable API in order to do something, most of these are actually like pretty specific pipelines of work. And if they're specific pipelines of work that have already been integrated in some sort of API, let's say like a development plan or something, you probably don't actually need all the intelligence. Like what I mean by this is intelligence really is like flexibility, right? But then like business utility is usually the opposite of flexibility. It's actually just like doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so if you've got to the point where you're actually like building the exact same thing over and over and over again, I don't know, some customer support bot which does some sort of rag over whatever, you don't actually need all that much intelligence. So there's, to me, like logically, there's sort of a conundrum there. It's like, why would like we even like prio Fable as API if we've spent all this time and energy building like a bespoke, like a really high quality pipeline that delivers economic value? We could probably do that with like Haiku in a lot of instances because,
Yes.
it's like no really thinly, tightly guardrailed and so on and so forth. Like where would Fable actually genuinely add value to like a customer application at this point?
Yeah,
That,
it's so true.
Sonnet or Opus couldn't.
Yeah, it's also like better, but better in a meaningful. Like I think people struggle to. They just see the graph, and actually, what's funny is all the graphs are kind of like very misleading because they start at 65 and go to 80. So it looks like, whoa, my gosh, dude, it's twice as good when you really get into it. But it's like, it's better, but to what extent is it better? And is it discernible? How would that show up in a chat window? I mean, obviously, if Anthropic were really customer focused, they would probably call it something really cool like Anthropic mode that effectively you never see what model's being used. So we take that out of the picture and it slides from Haiku all the way up to Fable based on the task. And then Anthropic essentially just route it to one of their 5 models. And they also index it on low to ultra code. Because it's kind of like, we had this in the UK with SIM cards where effectively you would get on a phone contract, maybe you're paying 40, 50 pounds a month and you get, be like, Nick, we're going to give you 1,000 minutes, unlimited calls, unlimited text. We're going to give you 20 gigabytes of internet, whatever it is. And then oftentimes people just didn't need the packages they got. And there was one company that disrupted, they were called GiftGaff. And they effectively, if you didn't, I think it was GiftGaff anyway, but if you didn't use the data, they would ratchet you down to a lower plan. So I think if Anthropic really wanted to, they probably could actually have some kind of mode that does give you the model you need. Like if I'm doing simple addition or like, hey, what is this? Is this Greek yoga or freaking something else? Which is a question that happened to me today. Actually trying to read Hungarian. I don't need Fable for that. But it was the default model. And I was like, holy shit, did I just ask Fable about Greek yoga? I literally did. So I think that would be a really cool concept and direction to take it in, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. What you did was the equivalent of launching a nuclear bomb at like a villager with a spear who was attacking your castle. You know what I mean? It's like there's like different weapons for different use cases, and you nuked the poor fella.
This is like a level 99 character entering like the cow farm at like the beginning of the game. It was like, I think I spent more asking about the Greek yogurt than buying the Greek yogurt. It actually would have been cheaper to actually just buy it anyway than ask about it. That's where I'm at. That's the life. That's what's going on now with Fable 5. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be cool, dude. I think it'd be really cool. How are you using Fable 5? Are you using 4.8 a lot? Are you focusing on Fable 5? I'd love your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any like crazy, insane pipelines or anything that I built with Fable 5. I just use the usual like for cost savings because I have found that I'm starting to spend a fair amount of money on Fable. I mean, I think I'm probably up to like $4,000 this month already or something.
Yeah.
I'm using the standard like you have an orchestrator and then you have an executor. Executor of the human race, maybe. God damn. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, hey, you are the orchestrator. You control a fleet of XYZ subagents and you do tasks and so on and so forth. The goal is to squeeze as much performance out of these, utilizing your intelligence and then giving them atomic tasks and, basically using your subagents like hands. And, it's not as good as if I just like ran Fable ultra high on everything, but, it's better than nothing. And then another thing is I'm just using like medium thinking. I was actually on like max thinking, just blowing through my freaking tokens like crazy, man. Like it was not even funny. I spent $1,486 in the first like 4 hours of Fable. And yeah, I'm not doing that again. That's not that I couldn't. It's just like that's a very inefficient usage of spend. I found that medium works basically identical for 99% of my use cases. I could see some situations where you'd need ultra high or like max or whatever, but those would involve like calculating the orbital trajectories around Mars to like slingshot to Jupiter. Like we do not need that right now.
We don't. Yeah, that would be a really good experiment actually. Like 5 levels of complexity on every setting on Fable, like just so you could really see like how, like what is it in between high, like high and max. Like what I did find is that Fable 5 low is the strategy basically. If you're on Claude, you should do Fable 5 low for sure. It's actually cheaper than Opus 4.8 high.
Really? No. How's that work out? Yeah, I mean like Do people really think that? That's stupid as hell. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I've
I
heard
feel like
that.
a plan, like the work is only as good as the plan. It's kind of like how in a movie
Mm.
you can only write an intelligent character if you're like really intelligent. So it's like, but if you're dumb as hell trying to write an intelligent character, the character's actually stupid.
Dude, have
It's
you
like, why
seen
don't they
like
use Fable to do stuff?
smart people written by stupid people?
Yeah, I have. It's pretty funny. They're all Benedict
like,
Cumberbatch squinting at you.
oh, that's funny. There's a guy who blew up on TikTok from that. He was like 16-year-olds written by adults or something like that. And it's like, get out of my room, mom. Like, you know, that kind of thing. Like, this is all the cliches and tropes you could possibly imagine. So it's cool, man. I'm loving it. So I think this does lead us really nicely, bro, onto the next big thing.
Yeah.
It's not Brock Lesnar. It's a new model. So Sam Altman's just dropped an announcement, right, that we may be getting GPT. Now, this is really key. It's GPT-6. It's not 5.x. It's 6, right? Nick, I've got that correct? We can pull up actually right now.
Well, it says it's 5. Like he says, GPT 5.6 Soul launches on Thursday. There's been a lot of other people talking about 5.6 and so on and so forth. So maybe it's like GPT-6 under the hood, but they're definitely pitching it as 5.6.
Dude, I literally confounded two of his tweets. Like, it said, "Our older kid put two words together today," and I thought it was GPT 5.6 Sol. But it isn't. That's a separate tweet. That's interesting. So is this GPT 5.6 Sol the one that was rumored to be even more powerful than Fable, if I understand this correctly?
Well, you know, Jack, in order to really have a meaningful discussion about that, we are going to have to put the hoods on.
All right. I'm actually hacking right now as we speak. Maybe Tyler can get some hacking noises in the background while I figure this out.
Yes, it was rumored to be, but there are rumblings in the dark web discussing how it is actually just a marketing ploy. We've had a lot of people talk that have had early access to 5.6 Sol say like it's not even close to Fable. I think it's one of those things where basically like we benchmarked really hard, and you know, they released this benchmark comparing it to Mythos, and it was like a little bit better than Mythos on a couple of specific applications. But you know, I think most of it is honestly just milking a cow, man. You got the entirety of like Twitter and all these like influencers and stuff like that are like waiting with bated breath to see what OpenAI is going to do next. But, you know, my opinion on this, and this has been the same for the last 6 months, if you look back through the pods, is Anthropic's just so far ahead. It's like it's almost completely meaningless. They have the next model up from Mythos already. They're just like sitting on it because obviously the US government is now involved. It's like a mini Manhattan project. They're saying it's going to be like better, but I don't think it's better at all, man. I think it's just like a wash.
Dude, and like Fable 5 is the handicapped version of Mythos. Fable 5 is a version that got taken around the barn and beaten with a freaking bat for 20 minutes. And is drinking milk through a straw right now compared to Mythos. And that's the one they sent out to us. We didn't get the Mac Daddy, bro. We didn't get the actual full unleaded version. That one's too great. And actually, even the Fable 5 we've got, I don't know if you've run into the hole where it goes into a circle and says, Nick, I don't feel comfortable doing this right now.
It's the worst, dude. What do you typically get it with? Like when you get the requests?
Some website stuff. But weirdly, it also gives me all the analysis and data. And then it's like, oh, actually, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable anymore. I'm like, all right, well, I've already got all the answers anyway, so that's fine. And then I just leverage on. But honestly, it's like, I think I was doing a bit of a bolstering security for something. I was like checking, hey, finding any loopholes, finding any exploits, find this. And then it just kind of beeped and decided I'm not having it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, like I remember one really specific and silly query where I was like, hey, you know, I want you to build XYZ app. The credentials are all in my account, like in .env. And then it was just like, we've detected issues with this message. We've rolled you back to Opus. And I'm like, for like giving you my .env? Like, I thought that was pretty essential for a software
We're sending you back. You're getting put back into the underclass, Nick. No. You've gotten too happy. Don't sentence me down, man. No, you're going straight to the underclass, Nick, with that behavior. That is crazy. I mean, like, I think there is a lot of marketing spin with this. I think, like, probably one of the biggest, like, high energy updates in AI usually is new models, and a new model without a new name is like ebony without ivory, Nick. It's like Mozart without a piano. Like we got to have, don't tell me 5.7 is launched. 5.7 Sol has launched. Now I'm interested, Nick. But Claude 5, who cares? Claude 5 Mythos. Well, hold on a second. So I think like it's intelligent that they're dropping these things in. But I think like from Sam's point of view, from OpenAI's point of view, I think like this really does need to be like, it's almost like, is it worth releasing if it's not going to be comparable to the best, or do you just
Yeah.
sit on it? But I suppose the counter to this, though, if I'm thinking out loud, is that what you may just not release a model for a year. Do you know what I mean?
Well, dude, like it's all funding now. So it's like there's the value, but there's also the perception of the value. Like if OpenAI just didn't release anything for like 6 months, their next round would tank. Like,
yeah.
So they have to like make it seem like they're still in the running. They have to like really push hard and engage with like people on Twitter and X, which is where a lot of these discussions are currently occurring. Presumably because that's also where all the venture capital is and all the fundraisers. You know, have you seen Elon Musk fundraising for anything, by the way, over text? It's always just like, hey,
no,
I need $1 billion. Are you cool? And some guy's like, could we do 2? You know, it's like,
he's like,
that's the sort of market that they're trying to penetrate with these like wild rounds, right? So
he's like, yeah, no, NP.
Yeah. Like they're just lowercase NP, no period. Damn, that's
not even a full stop, Nick. And there's like 10 figures involved. That's where they're at right now. Yeah, that is crazy. Actually, I think Anthropic's got to be careful as well. I appreciate that they want to safeguard and stuff, but at the same time, people are very fickle with their AI. It's even worse than MMA fans, actually. And it's like they will move the second they get a glimpse of something else. Like they will be gone straight away. Especially when you guardrail it, you get a little too handsy on what we can and can't do. People absolutely hate that because everyone's become accustomed to full, unfiltered, unfettered access. And the second we're like, actually, no, we're not okay with that, it's one thing. I guess it depends how deep and in is the US government around these companies now. Are they in them? Are they around them? Do they have an eagle sat at one of the developer desks? Are they checking for like passports when they walk in? Like, I think that's an interesting one because there was some tomfoolery that was going on with Anthropic and the US government, who, for those who don't know, who publicly said, hey, we're not comfortable with these 2 specific projects. But if the US government gets to be in their bonnet that this is dangerous, I would only expect that control and kind of principle to increase over time, not decrease.
I mean, like, I saw one of these leaked emails from Dario Amodei to one of the guys in the US government, and the tone was so interesting to me. It was like, hey, unfortunately, we're unable to comply with your requests. We believe strongly in X, Y, and Z. Like, I really want to work with you, but we're not going to do this. And then I was just thinking about it logically, and I'm like, the US government, the core thing that differentiates governments from companies is that governments have the legal mandate to use force in order to achieve their ends. That's basically the only difference, right? The difference between a company policy and then the rule of law is the company policy cannot be enforced by, putting a garbage bag over your head, shoving you in a corner, and then spraying you with cold, icy water every day for like a month. But the US government and other governments around the world, they have like the, ability to do so. And I was just like, like you're a big ass company, don't get me wrong, but like this is the US government we're talking about here. Like if you say you're not going to do anything, like you understand what they can and will do and have done. That's just kind of how governments are, right? Like that's the final thing. It's like, you better do this or what? It's like, you're not going to let me use your products? Fine, I'm fine. It's like, no, you better do this or I'm going to like beat the shit out of you.
No, 100%.
So no wonder that they didn't like him.
Zuckerberg talked about that with and how he felt very uncomfortable with what I think it was the Biden administration were doing. They'd come in and they'd suppress. Did you see what's happening in the UK now as well with so there's a couple of videos on this actually. It's very interesting that the UK government is doing a kind of like an outreach on YouTube. The YouTube said they dislike basically, and effectively it would allow them to amplify state-approved voices and boost them in the algorithm artificially, and suppress any far right in quotation mark voices and in quotation marks harmful ideologies and thoughts.
I think you're gonna have to put your hood on for that one, buddy.
Yeah, hang on a sec. Let me get a little bit conspiratorial here. So essentially, it's like there's a big thing in the UK about the BBC, and public support for the BBC is at an all-time low. Like it almost couldn't be lower. And it used to be this bastion of like truth and impartiality, and it would represent every edge of the political spectrum, and you could believe in it. And it's kind of not done that basically. And what's essentially gone on is like there's a lot of debate around it, and the sounds of it, we don't know the details yet, but the sounds of it is that if this becomes law, that essentially YouTube, if they want to operate in the UK, would have to boost state-approved media on YouTube. And so other creators that might have different perspectives wouldn't. But it's also a problem that these things, like this was the case with the billionaire tax in California, right? Where like it was very cleverly marketed as the billionaire. I mean, you don't mind taxing billionaires, do you, Nick? I mean, billionaires, let's tax them. But it was the idea, it's the apparatus, it's the principle, and this is how all things start. Stamp tax in UK started as at a penny to raise funds for the war against the French in like the 19th century, around or early 20th century, whatever the date was. And now it's something that people pay a significant amount of money for and pushes it back. So it is once they get the ability, the UK government, to decide who can say what, like people. So I was trying to say, like, you know, it's controversial and there's like some different points of view on YouTube, dude. So it's like it's kind of a bit wild right now.
Have you seen V for Vendetta, the movie?
No.
Oh man, it's one of my favorite movies. Just like you recommended me Obsession, I recommend you go into V for Vendetta with zero like reading or learning about it. And because if you do, I think you'll kind of spoil it for yourself. Don't look it up, Jack. I swear to God, if you're looking it up.
I'm dropping a note. V for Vendetta.
All right.
Yeah, I got it.
Well, anyway, the idea of it, and like a lot of the media at the time, is that like, you know, in the future, there's like some super like crazy conservative government, and the conservative government like tracks people using the same sort of Orwellian technologies that we currently have available to us. And the whole idea is like the future Orwellianism and panopticon is always portrayed as like super like right-wing government that's like quashing down on like liberalism, progressivism, and like any sort of like expression of free speech and so on and so forth. But I find it kind of funny because like I'm sure if we had like ultra conservative governments in, you know, the UK and in most places around the world, that's what it would look like. But as of the time of this recording, it's the opposite. And then you have the exact same sort of desire for that panopticon, that sort of like, you know, we are the only ones that can talk and shit like that, just in the other direction. So I'm sure it's not like a partisan issue. I think it's just like that's how human beings are when they get into power. Just
It's
like slowly
fascinating.
quashing dissenting voices. But like, you know, if you think about it, okay, in media, the villain is always like, ha ha ha, we're evil. But like a truly successful villain would convince everybody that they were actually great, right? And just like
100%.
lovely and
That
very
100%.
progressive and free values. Like that's what an actual competent villain would do. And I think in the last like couple of decades, we've seen a lot of competent villains on sort of like the left side of the political spectrum as well.
Well, it's fascinating, right? Like they say, like the devil disguises himself as an angel or whatever. Like it's a really interesting like expression, and it's like the government has that like kind of like hide user from channel feature. I feel like any media they don't like. So like on YouTube, if you create content, like and someone like, you know, a buddy of ours like sent me a comment he got on one of his videos, and it was like basically as long as The Hobbit. And it was like breaking down. But basically, YouTube gives you this feature to hide users from channel. And I guess like when you boost or amplify certain voices and don't, effectively that's what you're doing to like the entire world, so to speak. So it's fascinating. I think like YouTube is a really great way. It's a platform. It's a great way of getting to reach people. X, I think, is fantastic that they open source their algorithm. I think it's really cool that they're transparent on that. Dude, I'm actually going to look investing. Maybe we should talk actually about what we're doing investing in, dude, because X is one of the ones that I'm going to look into a little bit because I'm not shadow banned because I don't think you can be shadow banned. But bro, like I need to have a look and go deep on X right now because it just seems like some people on X post something and it just gets like a bazillion things. So I'm going to look in and learn that one. I think I'm going to invest in that a little bit, but X is a fruity one. I'm going to have it check out, I think.
Yeah. So sorry, to be clear, are we talking like financial investments? Or are we talking about like time and energy we're directing our business towards?
Let's do business. Let's do all, dude. Okay. Let's go through all.
Yeah, I mean, like business-wise, I started posting on X. I'm running an experiment for 30 days where I'm basically just treating it as like my journal. And then I'm just dumping any thoughts that I have during the day into X with zero formatting, zero attempts to like clarify it or make it nicer. The idea was I'm writing a lot of my thoughts over the course of the day in like a notepad. And I typically just spam them in Apple Notes when I have like a reflection. Like, you know, I need to make the algorithm like me, for instance, was like an idea I had the other day. And I was like, how can I do that? Then I just like thought about it for 30 seconds, wrote my thing and moved on. And then I was like, wait a second, why don't I put that into X? Because now I'm just sharing my thoughts and feelings unfiltered with the rest of the world. And it's like, if I zoom out, the people that are the most successful in the world have just consistently shared their thoughts and feelings openly over a very long period of time. If you just look at like literally anybody. Now, I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this, but just think about Donald Trump. The guy's like an unfiltered fucking machine, right? Like the thoughts just come from his brain. And unlike other people, they bypass the cortex entirely and just go to his mouth. It's like, now he's president of the world, basically, right? Or, I don't know, man. Like, Elon Musk is another really good example of that. If you go back throughout the last like 20 years, he's had a lot of stupid shit, obviously, right? Now he's also one of the most powerful people financially in the world. Clearly, there's something about congruence with like who you actually are deep down at the back of your mind. And then over a long enough period of time, especially in a digital world, apply leverage to that, you end up somewhere. And I'd rather be known for like who I really am than some facsimile of who I am. So I was like, doesn't this just make sense? Like, if in a future world where AI dominates everything, and I could see X being like the quote unquote human town square where there's still like people talking, don't know, I just want to start on that early. And then I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to share all my journal entries. Like, we're clearly moving to a more networked state anyway, where everything is like all networked. Everybody knows everything about every other person. So I'm just going to get a head start on that. And it's been dope. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, like, I've gone up by like 1,000 followers basically since I started, something like that. It's been like 4 or 5 days. And some of the quality of the discussions that I'm having are really cool. And then, there's some people that are annoying that like ask dumbass questions that are obvious like to anybody with 2 functioning neurons, but that's just how it is when you do anything in public. So I really, really like that. And I don't know. I mean, I'll assess it at the end of the 30 days. I'm rigorously tracking my time using like a built-in log that detects when I'm on X, when I'm commenting on X, when I'm doing stuff. And we'll see the ROI. But yeah, it's been pretty freeing just to be able to talk about shit that I actually think about and care about. You know what I mean?
That's cool, man. No, I love that. I think it's good to do these little mini experiments with really clear kill and continue criteria. Yeah, I was talking about this actually in the community about it is better to be loved for who you are than hated for who you are than loved for who you're not. And it comes down to authenticity.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys that crush it are authentic. And we've mentioned this on podcasts, but people are okay with disagreeing on some of your takes. It like you almost get like an authenticity boost where it's like they're so natural and authentic. I kind of believe their takes on it a little bit more, which is why people feel more, they feel closer to creators who have less hyper edited content than ones that are unbelievably over edited, because it's almost kind of too manufactured. They don't really know what they're getting there. So I thought that was really interesting. But it's also like, I was thinking about, how does one find an expert on a platform? And one interesting conversation I had recently was that the guys who are saying, hey, Nick, come and buy my 0 to X thousand X course. I think it's great. Aren't usually the ones who are the best, because the guys that are the best are actually using their knowledge to grow their own X. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're already making a lot of money from it. Like, for example, we're in the school platinum thing, right? It's like alumni to help guys with the challenge. And there is a girl coming in to do a chat. I don't know when that is, but she, I think, makes $130,000 a month through Instagram. And but she's not selling a how to make money on Instagram course, right? She's actually just using Instagram to generate money for her business. So it's this idea of, are the experts actually, do you see what I'm saying? Like, are they actually like the ones who are saying, hey, come in, blah, 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 or are they just like going ahead and making money with it?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously people are incentivized to get you on a platform if they make money from getting you on the platform. So if you sort of like approach that scrutinizing, are they like building like a real business and then using this as a fuel to their business? Or are they just like, have they always just wanted to like be a content creator? I think there's something there. I have all these people in Maker School constantly be like, yo, Nick, I want to be a content creator. And like, I want to make videos on AI and automation. And I'm like, really? Like, that was your goal to begin with? And they're like, yeah. So like, I want to do it. And I'm like, I don't think that makes sense. You're like, your end goal to be like this specific thing. Like the way that I think of content is like, content is a very exceptionally affordable means of acquiring leads. Like that's why I started it. Like, I'd love to say I started it to change the world, but like I started it because my cold email CPMs were like $8, and then my content CPMs were like $3. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna double down on the thing where my cost per meeting is $3. Fuck yeah, right? Cool. And so then I just did a bunch of it. So I think that's like a pretty good approach that you could take. Just be like openly and authentic. Like, hey, this is a great way to make money. Here's why I did this in the first place. and here's how it is transformed. Obviously, the nuance will be lost in a lot of people. Like there is nuance. I don't make podcast episodes with you because I care about my CPMs. I do it just because it's fucking fun, and I
Yeah,
think people get
100%.
value out of what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean that's a reasonable way to approach it, I think.
Well, it's funny because why did I start YouTube? When I started YouTube, the conversation I had myself is I will do this for 10 years, even if I don't have 10 subscribers. I was completely, and I spoke to a guy today, I was giving him some advice, and I said, I think the next thing for your strategy is to build a brand, actually. And I said to him, I said, like, and it's weird, like, I think the biggest advice I give to people when to start, like, creating any content is you need a 10-year point of view, or you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah.
I say probably because, just statistically speaking, because I've seen so many people start. There's just something about turning up every day and not getting all the results and sticking with it. People really struggle with that. I think that's an incredible thing if you're a consistent person, but people really struggle with that, dude. They don't have that. You know, they get a little bit of success and then you plateau, baby. Now what are you going to do? And I'm like, crap. Or like you lose your fight. Okay, cool. Are you going to give up? Are you going to keep going in there? So I think if you have a 10-year point of view, you can look past those things. Like it's like the month-to-month or day-to-day failures don't rock you because you have a long-term perspective and vision. So that's why I think it's so important to have that long-term point of view if you're going to do content.
Yeah, I mean, like this is probably the best thing to have a 10-year view on. If you look at like video game streamers, brands, and personalities that are in industries where AI has already effectively done everything. Like I always bring up Magnus Carlsen as a good example. Like
yes,
people watch him just because of him. They don't watch him because of his skill at insert XYZ economically valuable thing. Like they watch him just because he extols human virtues that are like pretty cool. And people are like, hey, you know, like if I were in that situation, I wonder what I would do. Kind of like why reality TV is so successful. And it's like, if there was anything to have a 10-year plan on, it would probably be this. I could see this as being one of the only things that is like actually genuinely like a job in 10 years.
Well, it wasn't like being a YouTuber wasn't a job when I was at high school. It was everybody wanted to be lawyer, doctor, maybe astronaut. Maybe astronaut is a bit controversial, but that was basically the thing. But I think YouTuber became the most popular choice, and I think that's because people were consuming stuff on YouTube at that point. So like, I actually want to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
But Nick, you know, we're talking, weren't we, about like how do you build, like what's the end goal of YouTube? And we were looking. Well, I was looking a lot at like a lot of the channels. It's like a really amazing goal on YouTube is your first 1,000 subscribers, then your first 10, and then 100, and then a million. I mean, the million's crazy because you get this gold plaque. It's like very freaking cool, and it's like a sense of accomplishment. But one interesting observation I had in looking at some of these million subscriber channels is that, and this is not news, but subscribers don't really mean a whole bunch. Honestly, I think the most important metric is actually subscriber velocity. So how quickly are you growing? But the most important metric, I think, is how many returning views you get. So how crap a video can you make and people still turn up and watch it because it's you? Like that is a test of your base, right? And it's tough to build a channel with outliers, with kind of like, we call them moonshots, because you can get like a moonshot video, it's like 1 million views and amazing, but they're not like invested in your ecosystem, your brand, or they don't necessarily like you. They just kind of clicked on the video and watched it. So it's like, I think the goal, I think, is you want to build up the base, like the returning base underneath the videos, which there's many strategies to do that, such that you almost become watched for in your own right, not necessarily that transactional, hey, here's how to get 7 hacks for using Microsoft Excel today. Like that's great. But like when the topics and tools change, you know, I'm the Excel guy. I don't care about Microsoft Word, or I'm Word. I don't care about Claude. It's like you lose. You have this kind of graveyard, if you like. Think of a subscriber, I think, as a what was that analogy? It was like a bookmark, basically. That's all it is. It's like I thought that was interesting. I like it. It's like a point in time snapshot. It's not I'm with you forever. That's not what it means.
Yeah, that is such an interesting way to put it. As a bookmark, it's like, how do you convert them from a bookmark into somebody that's coming to like your book club, sort of? I think the on ramp is just spending time with you, And so
Yeah.
these educational things that you're talking about, where you like provide educational value that is removed from who you are, is just like a mechanism by which people will spend time with you. And if your stuff is good and it keeps them with you for a while, then they sort of like you for you. I was thinking about why PewDiePie was like so universally loved across the internet. And it's just because guy would just stream for 8 hours a day. Like why is the Baus FFS? Like why is everybody just like they have it burned into their faces and shit. Sorry, their brains. It's because you just like spend like an hour with them every day. And even if it's not the most engaging hour, like you're there just for like entertainment and recreation. So you've sort of your bar is pretty low and then you watch them for a while and that's what makes you love them. Like Moist Critical is a good example of that too. You spend forever with them. I watch his, like, dude, I disagree with him on so many of his political takes. It's not even funny, but I'm still like, hey, this guy's cool. I like this guy. Like you can really enjoy a creator and then disagree with them on their takes. He'll make a video on something. He's like, this is fucking stupid. And I'm like, that sounds totally fine to me. But then I'm still watching it and I'm still like, this is somebody in my periphery. So yeah, I mean, like these are just on ramps.
No, it's so interesting. Okay, so here's an interesting question. Like, can you build a cult-like following without being entertaining? Like, can we find one pure... Okay, so just going to frame reference everybody. Like, on YouTube, there's two ends of a seesaw. One is like value. I add value to you. You leave with utility.
Right.
And the other one is entertainment. Today, I snuck into Mr. Beast's house and lived there for a year. That kind of thing. Like, my life's not better, but I'll goof off for like 15 minutes. So I wonder, can you build this kind of brand cult-like following unless you are liked? And I think that you can be liked as an educator, I think, but realistically, they've got to know you. And I don't know if there's too many examples of a pure value-driven creator that has a brand. Actually, let me give you one example I think is an interesting gray area for this. Is it MKHBD?
Oh, yeah, the phone
Marcus,
guy. Yeah.
Marcus Brownlee. So like, he's not saying, hey guys, I'm waking up, here's my dog, and this, and this. He's kind of like, I think people like him for his takes. They want to know what's Marcus Brownlee's take on this thing. So he's kind of built a thing around trust. So he gets invited to like, the Ferrari unboxing, and he became a kind of industry standard for that one particular thing. So I think you can be known as the guy, like you can be the guy for sure in a certain thing, or a couple of guys. But but it's different than those people who stream or are around, like a Most Critical, because it just touches on more areas of your life, right? Like it's like a different relationship when you're like teaching somebody a skill, or like, hey, there's this really cool thing you can do with your business that is going to make you more money, and I find that so valuable. Then kind of saying, oh, doesn't it suck when your chicken's too hot? I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like a different kind of interaction with your audience where they don't know you, or like to like you, do they need to know you a bit better? I mean, it's a kind of interesting philosophical point, but I think it's super important.
Yeah, I mean, like in a way, you being entertaining is value as well. So it's tough to like if maybe we split it down the middle between like education and then value, or like entertainment. I could see that as being like the shift. Because typically if you're like learning something, it's like hard work to really learn something. So it's like you're probably not like necessarily in like pure recreation mode. Those are the two like dipoles. I think that both of them work. It's just about getting people on board. And like anything, there are probably multiple paths to getting there. Think about Khan Academy. Think about Sal Khan, and like just like I know that guy's voice so well. Why? It's not necessarily because he was very entertaining. He was mildly entertaining, but I just stuck with him for a really long period of time because I was just having him run me through various math equations, and I heard his voice for like 400 hours.
Wow.
There's probably some limit, where I was like, after a certain period of time, I think the Anthropic team is coming to your house, Jack. You don't have much long.
I've got like flashing lights. I've got the police descending on me right now. I've said too much. I've said too much about Fable, so they're trying to shoot me down. I'll be incognito for 2 secs. Well, I'm still here. I'll just be without the visual. Maybe I can get a funny graphic up. But Nick, you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, like, just to make a long story short, it's just an on ramp, right? So like, what is your on ramp? It's like if I'm playing video games or whatever, it's because I'm really good at the video game initially, and then it's like because I'm funny, and it's like, okay, if I'm doing content on AI, it's because I'm really good at doing the system, and then eventually I'm mildly entertaining, so you like watch me for the entertainment. So there's probably multiple like slides that you can go down, multiple like roads or paths. But yeah, this is the one that we chose. So you really got to lean into it.
Dude, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a super fascinating thing when you get down to it and you think about it. So I'm going to be on dark mode for a second. My life things just got very very eerie with this environment right now.
Well, dude, you're in Hungary. Pretty classic.
Yeah, it's kind of like mood lighting, right? Kind of like
Jack, are you okay, man? Like things crashing down on the ground.
Dude,
the lights
dude,
on.
Anthropic just dropped in through my window, bro. I'm telling you right now, I've got a federal agent grilling me right now as we speak.
You want to do some Q&A? And if you think about it, Q&A is a really good example of that. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, answering questions for people is valuable, right? Like we are offering educational value in that way. But people are also just hanging out with us, spending more time with us. Hey, check out some of our recent subs. We got Andrew Edwards. Thank you very much. Living Hakuna. We got Gamer in Heaven. Speaking of gamers, guys, thanks so much for coming aboard. If you guys are watching this, I really appreciate you. It's always nice when like a big channel subs, you know? Okay. Let's do this. Let's just sort by newest and then go top to bottom. Back-to-back Marvel references in a row. Jack is watching someone in a flow state. LOL. Anthropic and OpenAI are forced by China to make improvements in progress, but not when it comes to compute cost per model. Oh, that's an interesting take. Yeah, I mean, I like that there is a, second power that is in your rearview mirror, just because I feel like if you didn't have that, we'd probably be in a worse state of progress. Competition breeds progress in some way, shape, or form. And in this case, despite the fact that maybe, like that comes with some strings attached, if you're using certain models via API and then they're sending information to places that you don't necessarily want to. Despite that fact, like it is a good thing to have competition. Monopolies tend to suck.
100. My prediction is I think within a few months, we are going to have a leading, I think that China is going to come out with something exceptional in the next few months. I genuinely believe that. By the end of the year, it would be unbelievable if they didn't have a Fable 5 equivalent out from China.
Oh, for sure.
Completely
one that's like
by
10x
December.
Algorithmically efficient, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Excellent point. I'm developing a harness to curate data integration layers between disconnected medical data. This can be used for a lot of things, not just coding. He's talking about our harness idea, building a business harness.
Awesome, man.
Gary says, it's infuriating talking to Fable 5 because lots of topics are banned, and then it even tells you nothing is banned because that's not the official policy of Anthropic. Other people have told me that a lot of math topics are banned, LOL. Yeah, that's interesting. It's like you are only permitted to reason at this level under Classman.
They just over weaponize the guys. It's like even like stuff that's not even remotely next to dangerous stuff. They just said no, it's all going, like all of it.
Absolutely. Okay, Joey says it feels like an even more neutered version. He's talking about Fable. Okay, I Am Fog says get Stephen Pope in here so my mentors can be the real ministry of experts. How's Stephen Pope doing?
Nice. Hopefully he's doing well, man. Hopefully the Popes is doing well.
Yeah, the Popes. Haven't chatted with the Popes in a while. Ayermeen says, hey, love you both. You're doing great work. I have an idea about how you can shape future discussions. Talk about real case examples of small and mid-sized company ROI after adding AI to layers of their business. I feel like the only part is missing is to close a client is the data on how others are driving ROI. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a solid idea. Small and mid-sized companies getting ROI after adding AI to some layers of business operations. I mean, like I'm working with a couple of big companies here. So I do have some NDAs in place that do prevent me from being able to speak openly, let's say about like the Mr. B stuff, which is going fantastic, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's going so well. Oh, I'm so stoked. And yeah, like the guy that I placed in the business to help them is like doing far better than I anticipated. He's a real goat. So anyway, I'm sure I'll get some juicy stuff for you guys at some point. Okay, hey, we've accomplished our mission, Jack, which was to make the best podcast on the internet.
We've spoken into existence. Let's go.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. We touched on codifying a harness specific to a business. That's what I've been working on the past 6 months, distilling down the models, decisions, and functions that walk thought leaders, mentors, and founders through effectively monetizing and creating their own brand encoded operating system. Congrats on winning the school games, Jack. You definitely earned it. Yeah, dude, congrats again. I mean, like, you've just been crushing it. You crush it so much, Jack, that you're like, Los Angeles. What the hell am I going down to Los Angeles for? It's just another weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Montenegro. It's going to be fun.
Russell Bus says, Broskies, what were each of your top 2 or 3 Fable 4D chess moves each of you made to improve your systems and workspaces? I know you guys went gigabrain like that. Okay, you go first. You go first.
Wow. Well, one thing I did is find blind spots. So find stuff that couldn't be found by the models. The other one I did, probably the biggest one, wasn't building. It was more strategic. It was more bouncing ideas, actually. It was more of a thought experiment than anything else. So I tried to harness its brain and intelligence. I think it is better at building, but I think in reality, its ability to come up with fresh point of views and perspectives on things was really fascinating. That was the highest ROI thing I did. I actually set aside an entire day for it, to be honest with you. A day
Really?
that I otherwise would be doing coding or whatever I'm doing. And I was like, I'm just going to lock in today and like do a really big strategy day. And it was really good to go through that process. And I thought it did a great job of challenging perspectives. I did still tell it to tone down the sycophancy ahead of time. I was like, don't be a sycophant, challenge me, look around corners. And this was my stated objective. The best route there, let me know. And then we went back and forward and asked questions. And it was like talking to a 500 IQ seasoned advisor. Obviously got in the right questions to ask, but that was one of the biggest ones, I think. And then I've had fun like building like really cool websites and stuff with it as well. How about you,
Dude,
Nick?
observation. Fable's like a high class escort. Like you just love talking to the, like this is how Fable gets like all
That's how she
of
gets
us.
us, man.
It's like you love talking to it. You're like, oh, it finally understands me. Before you know it, you spent 500.
$500. And Nick, what's the credit card details? Let's get that locked in. Yeah.
It's like, oh, your card's already on file, sweetheart. Like, how are you doing?
That's how she gets you, man. That's it. They call her Fablette or some stuff like that, man. That's it. Give her a voice.
Dude, the coolest thing I've done is I built a system that took screenshots of what I was doing every 10 seconds. So 6 a minute. And then I built a giant library, and then I did image processing on everything that I was doing. And then I actually fed it into Fable, a massive list of like, 1,000 of these, and said, hey, like ideate on my workflow. What are some routine tasks that I've done over the course of the last like 48 hours? And how do you think I could do them better? And then I got like a hit list of, probably like 50% shitty ideas because it didn't fully understand how my mouse was moving or what I was doing because my screenshot loop was too long. But 50% of them were just like, hey, I noticed that you were like doing this over and over and over again. You could probably make a Chrome extension for that. And I can help you build that really quickly. And I was like, what the hell? So then I built a couple of Chrome extensions that do like routine macro-based tasks that I do. So that was fucking sick.
That's cool, man. That's a really
Another
great
one was this, which is an ongoing build of websites that Fable is just doing for me in the background. I like this because my idea is like, I think 3D effects and stuff like that are probably the most important, like kind of like visual experience layer is like the thing that's important from now on. So I just had Fable build a bunch of stuff. And for instance, I think this website, I don't know, I mean, it just built it in the last couple of like minutes, is going descending below the sea. And then it's just going deeper and deeper and like finding organisms and shit like that down there.
That's
and
cool,
like
man.
this is a good example of just one of like 60 websites I've had it build. I just wanted to do this because it would be really cool if like the internet just had a massive resource of free templates available to people that like were really cool, right? Like, that's neat. How about this one? This one's like, there's like some meteorite inside of here with like 3D shaders. It like AI generated the image. Anyway, I'm doing like some pretty cool stuff with that, I think. So
that's cool, man. That's a really good use case of it, man. What a beautiful
yeah, I mean, like
resource.
it's just burning tokens, like nobody's business. But hey, what are you going to do, huh? I'm like, I got it for the next 4 days. Let's do it.
That blast it, man.
This is interesting. IDs don't actually stop bad actors. They just burden ordinary users. So AI needing ID is fucking ass. Is that what the kids say these days? Are they saying fucking?
Fucking, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, if you think about it, though, like the regulatory mode is really the only thing that's left, right? Like, IDs don't stop determined bad actors, but they will probably reduce determined bad actors by like 98%. And so it's like, there's no policy that is 100% effective. So it's always just shades of gray. It's like institutionalization policies for homeless people that are on drugs, in like the Western world, in North America.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not perfect, but it's like, like it will reduce the incidence of this occurring by 90% at the cost of civil liberties. It's all trade-offs in politics, Thomas VP08. And if you're running for VP, just think about that, bro.
In 2028. No, I agree. I think it's adding friction into the process. So the classic example of this is you try and tackle the obesity crisis in America. One of the things they did is said, well, let's say you have a 5 million person population. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. Let's say you have 5 million people in the US. drinking your calories. Like if we had 5 things that if we could eliminate, people would have 6 packs, right? One of them
Mm.
was the mega gulps, the super size 2-liter Cokes. And I said, well, how can we fix that, like in all the restaurants and stuff? So what they basically did is something called nudge theory, which is the idea of like you add friction into a process. And by the way, this works inversely as well as traditionally. And they essentially said, look, you can have your mega gulp max drink, but we're going to give you a half-liter cup, and you just have to fill it up twice. And what happened invariably was people would get the half-liter cup, they'd fill it up, and they're like, I can't be bothered to go back up and do it again. So as a consequence of that, people started to drink less. And so like you can use this philosophy like in your environment, like to pick up those friction points and do things like that. And ID is something where like it won't stop your most like determined, ardent criminals, but there will be a sector who's like, oh, fuck it. I've got an ID. I've got to figure this thing out. So it kind of just reduces your total volume down.
Oh, that's wild, man. Yeah, that's a really cool example. Wow. Isn't that funny how like a small shift like that can probably have crazy profound results? Think about like the total number of pounds lost after something like that happens over the course of like a year, and just like the amount of like energy burden that reduces on all of the system.
You could even track, like, if you had like a popular TV show talking about healthy habits, like you probably see that on the data of like mortality in X number of years. I've no doubt about that. Like I watched a video with the guy who went to the fattest city in the world and the skinniest city in the world. And honestly, do you know what it was? It was 2 things. It was education. The guys in the fattest city didn't know how much a gram of protein was, or like how many calories you eat a day. So I don't know, 50 or like 100,000. I didn't know. And like the other was environment. It was really difficult to get healthy food. Like the appetizers were like 1,000-calorie buns and like honey, basically. And it was just there, like, hey, let's get you this. Let's bring you all these breadsticks. And so like you were constantly headbutting with your environment. So they had an environment that basically was the perfect optimum environment for becoming fat. That was the environment they created. No knowledge, so you couldn't break through. So they kept you hemmed in, dome over your head. And then they made the environment perfect. By contrast, in Japan, where the slimmest city was, the environment was engineered for the exact opposite. Everything had healthy options, portion sizes were less, and it was like no cognitive strain. You just kind of breeze through your day. You go about as you do, and you just happen to eat well. Whereas in the other environment, you do the same thing and you get fat. So it's very, very interesting, actually. It's a huge hack.
You know, how can you design your own life environment such that achieving the goals that you want is effortless, simply because all of the decisions throughout your day are guided by some invisible environmental factor, like, work. People that like carry around phones that have TikTok on it, like, to me, it's like somebody that's really struggling losing weight carrying around a feed bag full of cookies. It's like, if your goal is to lose weight, why would you carry around a giant bag of cookies? Like, I just think about that as a really small microcosm. It's like, I don't know. There's a million different ways. People that want to gain weight that like carry around cigarettes in their pockets that like significantly reduce your appetite. It's like, what are you doing? If you just like remove that from your environment, you would smoke fewer cigarettes. You'd probably want to eat more. Likewise, the other way around. It's crazy, man.
It's wild.
It's crazy. Anyway, Oliver says you're -3 subscriber here. Ice cream shops do pretty good here in Norway, believe it or not. Ooh, I gotta have some Norwegian ice cream.
I'm down for that. But then we made a joke about them. Yeah.
Do you want to do more with one more from Jeremy? Because he has a really, really good one. And then we can...
sweet. Let's do it, man.
He says, as somebody who's traveled around a lot growing up as a missionary kid, 20 countries before I was 20, the portion on you guys talking about traveling really resonated. One way I think about it and talk with other missionaries about it is that cultural migration makes you an infant or a dependent again. You don't know where stuff is, and you have to learn the rules from scratch. You talked about paying that tax, and that's real. But frequent travel comes with its own skills too. There's some rules and patterns that are true no matter where you are in the world. So the way he sees it, traveling has an upfront cost, but you pay it less as you keep going, which is the same with everything else in life. It's its own game, and you just decide how maxed you want to be in it. It's taught him to be lightweight and stuff. He's had to leave things behind multiple times, say goodbye to people, and stuff weighs down that lifestyle. Nomadic people still exist and do so for economic reasons. But my favorite part of traveling is the shift into dependent mode again, asking every question I can about locals' belief system, what's important for them, etc. I think that's such a brilliant comment.
That's an amazing comment. I think that the most interesting people I've ever met have been ones that have traveled around a lot. They have a broader frame of reference. So I think that's really fascinating. And I think that death is when you stop learning new things, where you kind of your world, we call it crystallized intelligence versus fluid intelligence,
Yeah.
where fluid intelligence is the ability to learn new skills, crystallized intelligence is doing things you already know, like driving a car or making a coffee or whatever it might be. And I think like it must be a force vector for learning, because you have to break your habit, right? You can't, you got to either like learn a language or find out what Greek yoga is in the shop. So there's something about that. And there's some healthy aspect to being around people with different perspectives in different environments. And I think just seeing different sceneries, like even being in Budapest has been beautiful. I love Budapest. I love Dubai. Um, it's such a good thing to do, I think, and get around it. So you got to get that balance of like stability, but also like experiencing new things, man. So what a great comment. Anything you want to add
Yeah.
on to that, Nick, before we sail off
Yeah, I
into
mean,
the soul sunset?
yeah, man, just how brilliant is it, the whole dependent mindset? I mean, like, he actually likes becoming dependent again. Dependent meaning like you have to have other people help you to solve problems. That's brilliant, because I think that really cuts the core of why there's so much friction for me traveling. I consider myself an extraordinarily independent person, and sometimes I'll travel to places where I don't know the language, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, I don't know what this means. Can you do whatever? Like, it really changes your sense of identity. But then the more you do it, interestingly enough, the less attached you become to that sense of identity. And simultaneously, the more crystallized your sense of real identity becomes, because you realize, like, I am not my ability to speak English. I'm not my ability to like work in this like highly optimized world, at least like where I live, that I understand. Like, I'm more than that. I'm the ability to adapt, grow, change, and learn. So
That's
well done,
fascinating.
Jeremy. Like, sounds cool, man.
Yeah, we could riff on that for like 20 minutes, but I think that's perfect. So Nick, hopefully next week we're gonna dive into soul. We've got a lot of controversial stuff to cover. Guys, have a beautiful weekend, and we will catch you in the next one.
Catch y'all later. See ya.